1.7 Introduction to Perimeter, Circumference, and Area. Um, so today the focus is on area and perimeter. Circumference is perimeter of like a circle. Now, before we start, I just want to remind you that the units for area will be like feet squared, inches squared, meters squared, and if they don't have a unit, you'll need to say units squared. Where perimeter, when you're measuring the distance around, right? Perimeter is the distance around. That's the distance around for circumference of a circle. Your units for that will be regular, just feet, okay? Because you're adding a length. 4 feet plus 4 feet, that's 8 feet. Feet, inches, that almost looks like meters, but meters. And if they don't give you any units, you would just say units, whatever that measurement is. The area now for a square and perimeter of a square. Now a square, all the sides are the same length. So this is S, this is S, S, S. The perimeter is going to be S plus S plus S plus S, or basically 4S. And the area is going to be S times S, or S squared. Rectangle has a length and a width, or a base and a height. It doesn't really matter, but your perimeter, you could add up length plus width plus length plus width, or basically it's you have 2 L's plus 2 W's, and your area is length times width, okay, or base times height. Now for a triangle, now remember, the base does not necessarily have to be the bottom. I could call my base here, okay, but the thing to remember is that your height needs to be perpendicular. And there's a symbol for perpendicular that I wanted to write. That's the symbol for perpendicular. So the height needs to be perpendicular to the base. So you might be given extra information. You might be given this the length here, the length here, and then a length inside the triangle. And then they'll use this symbol to show that that's a right angle. And if it's a right angle, they're perpendicular. If this is my base, this red line is my height. Okay. If I had a triangle that was not looked like this, now I could have a couple different options for it here. I could use basically 3 different ways of doing it. One way, this is my base. My height would have to be, it's not a straight up mark here. That's not my height, because it's higher than that. What I have to do is I have to extend my base over, and then my height is going to be perpendicular to that. And that would be my height of that triangle. On a triangle like this, I could also call this my base, and then my height would be inside. My height would be this line right there. Okay, so remember, I can rotate these triangles around to make whatever I want. But the key is to find this right angle mark. I know that my height and my base have to be perpendicular. Now my perimeter, there's no real formula for that. You just have to add up all the sides. But the area, the formula for the area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. Circumference of a circle is 2 pi r, and the area of a circle is pi r squared, where r is my radius. Okay, now one of the ways I remember this, which is which? Oh, clicking on the wrong thing. This is what I'm looking for. Some special effects. Alright, so one way I remember that, so my radius is squared for area, and if I scroll up here, when were my units squared? It was my units were squared in area. So I square the radius for area. For circumference, the distance around, that's like perimeter, do I square my radius? Are any of these units squared for my perimeter? No. So that's how I remember it. I use that little trick that when I'm finding the area, I need to square my radius. When I'm finding the distance around, I don't need to. Right? These formulas you should all have memorized. As far as being in 10th grade or 9th grade, as the case might be, you need to have these basic formulas memorized. Now, from these formulas, hopefully you can also figure out other pieces. For example, if I gave you I wanted to find the perimeter of a semicircle, how would I find the perimeter of a semicircle? I'd have to take the circumference 2 pi r, and then I would have to, so this part would be 2 pi r divided by 2 because I'm missing the other half. Okay, and then this part would have to be, that's like, this is one radius and over here is another radius, so that might be plus 2r, right? Radius plus radius. This would be the formula for a perimeter of a semicircle. Now, I don't expect you to have that memorized, but you need to be able to piece things together, okay? You might need to, if you're looking for the height or something of a triangle, you might have to do some other math like using the Pythagorean theorem to find the unknown, the missing piece. Okay, so just because you're not given everything, you haven't seen it before, you have to do some logical thinking here. So real quick, your radius is the short one. Okay, your diameter is the long one. Diameter is all the way across. Radius is from the center to the outside of the circle. And if you remember that, radius is always smaller. You should be in good shape. So the relationship, I should go back to this, the relationship between the two is 2 times the radius would give me the diameter. Or the diameter divided by 2 would give you the radius. I'm just going to find the area of this triangle, So you might be given some coordinates in your homework like -2, that's my x coordinate, my y coordinate would be 6, and you might have to plot these points. Looks like 3, 2, 3, 2 over 3 up 2, and then back 2, 4, 5, -5, 2. They give me some coordinates, you plot the points. Once you plot the point, if I'm trying to find the area of this triangle, I want to look for a right angle. Now you might not have this line drawn in there. You might have to add that and make it so that you have a right angle. So now all I have to do is find the side lengths. My height looks like it's a height of 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And a length of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my area of this triangle is 1/2 4 times 8. 1/2 of 4 is 2. 2 times 8 is 16. And if you want full credit on the test, you don't just write 16, but I would need to say 16 units squared. So in this next example, you're designing a mat for a picture. It's kind of the border that goes around the picture. The picture is 8 inches wide and 10 inches tall. So whenever I have a word problem, I'm going to be doing these steps. I'm going to draw myself a picture, 8 inches wide, 10 inches tall. The mat is to be 2 inches wide. So all the way around this, we're going to have a mat of 2 inches. So what is this length here? If this is 2 inches, this is 2 inches. That's a total of 8 plus 2 and 2, so 8 and 4. That length is 12. 2 plus 10 plus another 2 is going to be 14. So once I sketch the diagram, I'm going to add in extra information that I know from the givens. Okay, so I was given some information. I'll add in my own that I figured out. And I want to find the area of the mat, the area of this piece. Okay, so to do that, see if I can undo all that. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to pull out 2 colors here. I'm going to find the area of all of this. If I find the area of everything in here, you'll see what I'm doing right now. It looks a little crazy. I'm going to find the area of the big rectangle, and then I'm going to also find the area of what I don't want. I don't want this piece in here. So if I take the area of the big rectangle and subtract out the area of the blue rectangle, I should be left with the green pieces. So my model that I'm going to be using, I'm going to find the area of the little rectangle and the big rectangle, and I need to subtract the 2. So what's the area of the big rectangle? Well, length times width, 14 times 12. I'm going to subtract out the area of the little rectangle, 8 times 10. Alright, so 8 times 10, 80. Hopefully you don't need a calculator for that one. 14 times 12. So I'm thinking 120 and 48, so 168. So 168 minus 80. Well, 160 minus 80 would be 80. That's the 88. And we are finding an area, but did they give us units? It wasn't just 14, but inches. So the area would be 88 inches squared. I'm making sure to label my answers. There's your homework for 1.7. We'll be having a review coming up in class, and followed by the test before we start 2.1. So the last section of 1.7, make sure you're taking good notes and have your notes well organized for the upcoming test. Have a good night,